Hello. I apologize for sounding a little bit raspy. I am currently recovering from COVID a little bit. But this is the first day in like a week where I actually feel good enough to leave the house. So we have come out to work on my 2003 Lexus GS430. I bought this car about 2-ish years ago. And I probably should have looked into this car a little bit more before I bought it because it has been a bit of a basket case. The guy who owned it before me, I don't really think he knew what he was doing a lot of the time. And so this car has had a bunch of weird little issues that I don't really want to bother getting into now. But what we're doing today is replacing the coilovers. The previous owner had put Megan Racing coilovers in this thing and had slammed it. I hate slammed cars. If you like it, great. I personally don't like it, and I especially don't like it on a car like this. This is a commuter car you use to take your children to private school, and then you go to your Illuminati meetings afterwards. That's what this car is for. It's not for slamming it to the ground. So we're going to be replacing it with stock shocks and stock upper control arms in the rear because the rear doesn't have these stock upper control arms. So enough jibber jabber, we're gonna get this thing up into the air and get started. Alrighty, so I got the wheel off there, it's on the ground. And what we're replacing today is this shock and strut combo and then the upper control arm. I'm actually doing this for 2 reasons. One, I don't need these because I'm never going to adjust the height. I want the car at stock height as close as possible. And I actually, when I first bought the car, I did that. I raised it back up to stock height as close as I could without maxing out the coilover here. But the second reason why I'm doing it is because it makes an awful noise when you go forward. I have some footage of it. I'm going to overlay the footage now. And I replaced you can see them. There they are. I replaced the diff bushings, the front and the rear ones, and I thought that would fix it, and it didn't. However, it did make it quieter. And at this point, the only thing I suspect that it is the non-stock suspension component, especially this. Like the fact that this is relying on these spacers here, I just don't know what's going on. And so I didn't look like an idiot recording it. I actually already did this side. So we got the new upper control arm in and the new shock and strut in. And if you look at where is it? Here it is. This is the old upper control arm. Look at these just awful booger welds. I mean, these are just terrible. Weirdly enough, the powder coating on it seems to be like not terrible, but yeah, the welds, this was definitely made at like 4:30 on a Friday. So the first thing we got to do is we got to remove the brake caliper to get it up and out of the way. So we got to remove the 2 bolts. There's one up top, one down below, and it requires a 17mm socket. And then we're going to hang the caliper up and away. I think I'm going to hang it right here on this bracket with some wire because that's what I did over there. You can actually see the wire hanging. So yeah, we're going to quickly take that off. All right, we got the caliper hanging right there. Just so that this line isn't taut. And then I got the rotor right there on the ground. Quick little tip of the day. Whenever you can, put the bolts back into the holes. That way you're less likely to lose them. The next course of action is to remove the strut. It shouldn't be too hard. There's 3 bolts up in the trunk. You'll have to pull back the liner in the trunk to get it. There's 3 bolts on top. I believe they're 14mm. And then we got to undo this. You don't need a spring compressor for this one. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And what I will say about this is when you're dealing with suspension components, they can be extremely dangerous. People have died dealing with these springs. They have a lot of power in them and they will easily go through your face. So just be very, very careful whenever you're doing this. And obviously, this video is for entertainment purposes only, and I am not responsible if you accidentally kill yourself. We got the top bolts off, and now I'm gonna remove this one for the main strut. Pretty sure it's a 19mm, so we're about to find out. Hey, look, it is a 19mm. Okay, now that this is, as you can see, loose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo, there's a bolt right here, just off, you can see it kind of right there. I'm gonna pull this and drop this main lower control arm down. I've also undid this sway bar here, and I'm gonna drop it down, and then I'll be able to pull this shock out. And then once this is out, we'll have a lot more room to work to get to the upper control arm. So I'm gonna find it. I think this is also a 21 millimeter, or a 19 millimeter, I think it is. Oh, how about that? Yes, it is. Dope. There we go. We got the strut out. Now we're gonna go for the upper control arm. Now I don't know what inspired me to do this the first time, but for whatever reason I undid the bolts over there first before I undid this one. That was really stupid. I don't know why I ended up doing it that way. It ended up being way more of a pain in the butt to remove it. Yeah, that was really stupid. So what I'm not going to do is that again. So I'm gonna remove this first, come in with a ball joint buster or the ball joint forks, and come in and just take that off, and then we'll go for the bolts in there. Hey, there we go. There, got it out. Nice and easy. Gotta go for this castle nut. There we go. All right. If you're wearing headphones, I apologize. This is going to be kind of loud. Woo! Hum baby. There we go. That was, that's powerful stuff, man. All right, so now that we got the ball joint out, we gotta take the rest of the lower control arm out. This one's pretty easy, and this one, I know it might look a little difficult, but actually, if we come under from this side here, the bolt's right there. So it's super easy to put a ring wrench on that, and then use a ratchet on the other side to undo it. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. All right, got the big ass breaker bar. Oh man. Leave this in loose just so that it doesn't like come, I don't think it will, but just so it doesn't come falling down when I undo this one. This one is going to be a little bit hard to see. Get it started. Yeah, there we go. I actually got it. I was able to get started without having a wrench on the other side. I'm going to feel it, see if it's spinning. And after, all right. Hey, there we go. Out comes the upper control arm. All right, as you can see, quite a bit more of a difference between there. This one is obviously far more substantial, which is probably, I'm guessing this one is probably flexes a lot, which is what was causing the knocking noise. But yeah, this is the new one. Got a new castle nut with a new pin. So yeah, let's get this bad boy installed. Okay, so we got the upper control arm in. I didn't record it because it's basically just pulling out the old control arm in reverse, put the bolts back on, you know, slide it in, put the bolts back on. And then actually we're gonna be leaving this detached for right now because it allows more flexibility of this to put the strut in. So the strut's in, I have it in the top right here. It's not bolted in yet. I'm going to come in the top. I actually do the other side too. It's bolted in here. Pretty nice that Lexus has these. I think they must just be to help with install to put them right here. And probably prevents it from, you know, walking, you know, forward or backward. But I got to do this bolt first, the bottom part. And then we got to attach this, and then I got to attach the upper control arm, and then we have to preload the suspension, which in this car is kind of annoying because you can't really do it on the ground because there's no access. So we got the upper control arm ball joint in there. Now we just have to install the castle nut. It is a 22 millimeter, and we're going to install it and then put the pin in and call it good. The next thing we're going to talk about is preloading the bushings. I forgot to mention this before, but when you tighten these bushings down, do not tighten them all the way. Just tighten them so that they're loose and that the control arm can move up and down easily. Because if you tighten them all the way down, what happens is the suspension right now is sitting at as low as it can go right now. It's not loaded, right? The weight of the car is not on it. When you tighten them all the way, what will happen is it will over twist this bushing, and that will cause one of two things could happen. The bushing could over twist and just wear prematurely, or the rubber will straight up rip. And that obviously won't be good. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to have to preload the suspension and then tighten the bushings down. This is a little bit annoying to do on this particular car because it's so low to the ground. Access isn't really possible, even with the stock ride height that I'm about to get. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to lower the car down, take that floor jack, put it under here and kind of push up on the suspension until the car starts to lift up. Once that happens, then I will tighten the bushings down and then put the rotor back on and everything. It doesn't have to be exact when you do this, but you know, it needs to be as close to where the car is going to be sitting normally. Alrighty, so as you can see, I have a jack there on the lower control arm pushing up, and now you can see the suspension is more at a stock ride height, and then I'm now going to tighten the bushings up. You don't want to over torque them like crazy. You just want to tighten them up until they become hard to turn. And then once you do that, the suspension should be preloaded. Got the suspension preloaded on both sides. And now the last thing I have to do on this side is put the brake caliper on along with the rotor. And then we're not even done. I get to do the front now. Good morning. It is the next day. I was working late into the afternoon and I was getting tired and just decided to come back here in the morning and do it. So we got to do the front. Should be pretty simple. I fairly now have a pretty good idea of what we're doing. Obviously, it's going to be, nuances are going to be different, but fundamentally it should be the same. We're just replacing the strut and the upper control arm. So let's get this wheel off here and get to it. Alrighty, so that was kind of annoying, but I got it. And the reason why I'm not showing the full how to do this is because this is for entertainment purposes only. Another reason why I didn't film it is because it's basically the same exact thing than the rear. Wasn't harder or easier, it was basically the same, and so I felt it was very boring to film. But yeah, we got everything all fastened up, struts in, I gotta do the bolts in the top, I gotta put the pin in for the castle nut here, and then I also have to hook up the sway bar and that wheel speed sensor cable. But then after that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna preload the suspension the same way that I did it in the back, set the car down, push it up with a jack, and then once we do that, I'm gonna do one more sand, just go all the way around, and then we're gonna do an oil change, because this thing also needs an oil change, and then we're gonna take it for a test drive. Alrighty, so that's pretty much it. Got all the wheels on it, preloaded front suspension. And now, as a result of this, the clunk in the rear end is completely gone. I am so happy about that, because that was one of my initial suspicions, was that it was the non-stock suspension geometry that was now in this thing. It might need an alignment. I think the front wheels are fine. It seems to track straight, but when I drive it home on the highway tonight or later today, we will know for sure. Tune in for the next episode where we are going to be giving this thing a proper interior detail. As you can see, yeah, the car is kind of gross. Okay, well, the leaves, that's from me and people using my car. And the seat is also torn up and looks, I don't even want to know what that stain is. I actually reupholstered that seat a long time ago, so I'm going to do this one next. So the next episode is going to be a full-on interior overhaul of this thing. See you in the next episode.